Hello. Anyone around here speak basketball?
This is Abby Silver.
Vision 6-9. Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks. Let's jump into this one, and pretty interesting question from a frequent listener to the pod and a good friend of mine. And we were kind of chatting about Chris Boucher's, his unique contribution last year and this year, right? I think a lot of Raptors fans are familiar with Chris's journey. In Tampa, he was starting on the team, putting up big numbers, obviously bad year. Last year, he had a really rough start, and then he kind of, started meditating, and not that that's the main reason, but, he spoke to that, and kind of, he became this master of hustle. Like, he is just there when it matters. He can do everything. He's not so shot reliant. He's just a really positive contributor. I think in the Dallas win, we're recording this on the 29th after the Cleveland win, but after the Dallas win, for me, the game really changed when he came in that first quarter. And so we were kind of riffing on this idea, and I want to ask you both, like, I have a player in mind. I can start. Who's a role player that has sort of changed their style of play to fit the team? Who's someone that makes you think, like, because it's happened before. And who's someone who's giving off the, like, I just want to win and I will do what it takes vibes of Chris. That's not necessarily, we've seen stars do it, right? We've seen stars, as they get limited through time athletically, they can kind of do other things. And the guy I thought of, there's a couple people I thought of, but the one I feel like fits this for me is Trevor Ariza. I think Trevor Ariza, proved he can be a starter and he can put up, big scoring numbers. I believe he won a championship with the Kobe Gasol Lakers. But later in his career, he really became this corner shooter, this guy who would just play hard on defense and kind of wait for Harden to pass the ball. And, he also became a key contributor off the bench for Houston. So Trevor Ariza is kind of someone I thought of as a role player. Yeah, I'd say he's probably made a lot more money than Chris. Maybe not, with inflation and everything, but Trevor Ariza is a guy I thought of. I can pull up his stats in a second, but let me go to you first, Pat. Do you think Trevor Ariza is a good comp? Is your head going elsewhere?
I do love Ariza so much. Ariza, every time I did a 2K fantasy draft from like 2010 to like 2017, Ariza was always my starting small forward. Always a very good contract for what he brought you. Is 3-and-D is perfect. I think that his career was a very interesting one because he was like a high school rookie playing on the Knicks, went to the Magic, was kind of like, oh, is he going to stick somewhere? And then he found positions of where he stuck. And also, like, I think he found his true love with Daryl Morey. He's like, you fit perfectly in this new NBA. Welcome to a job forever. So yeah, I'm a big Ariza fan.
And yeah, dude, I feel like to me, he's a good example of someone who's made it work in a lot of different ways. I will, because I love I got to point the right way. Wait, here you go.
Your couch.
Yeah, my couch. I love my dude DeMar so much that I will always remember when Trevor Ariza tried to elbow him in the brain. It really scared me. DeMar was running away and he swiped at him with like a full kind of Muay Thai elbow, and he just missed the back of his head. It was very scary. But I'll let it slide, Mr. Ariza. Yeah. Do you have someone else in mind, Pat? Is there someone you think that is kind of has that, like, they've been a role player through time that is shifted? Yeah.
To keep it, so I first thought of Boris Diaw, a
That's a
man
great one. Yeah.
who was cut from the worst team in NBA history, the 2011-12 Bobcats, and then signed with the Spurs and became one of the most important parts on one of arguably the best basketball teams of all time.
Yeah, that's a
Boris
great comp.
He is a savant, and he just kind of like, I feel like he could stay in France and be the greatest French player of all time, but in the NBA, he would just kind of get bored of bad basketball. But then when he found good basketball, he would just step up to a whole nother level. To see, because he was like a starter, like, oh, we want you to take all these shots, blah, 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 blah. To go to the Spurs system and fit so perfectly, I think that's a good fit.
That's a great one. Yeah, and funny little thing about Diaw. I always loved, like, I forget what podcast he was on, and people have talked about this, but he is obsessed with coffee, and he tried to make people drink coffee in the change room all the time. And that's funny to me because, like, you know, just playing pickup basketball, it's like, I don't want an espresso like right before I play basketball, but you know, whatever. Cheers to Boris. I hope I'm not stealing this from you, Imman, but makes me think of Batum. Right, has been, you know, a person who's been, I don't know, I guess he was an all-star, but, you know, not a full-on star, someone who's sort of shifted around and also left Charlotte and done a lot better after that. Yeah, Imman, is there anyone that comes to mind for you, like a role player that's kind of,
and they got to be French?
Yeah, they have to be French. No, the way that I sort of thought about this, and I think Boris Diaw is like the perfect comp. Just Chris Boucher was in a similar situation, right? Where, like, who knew he was going to be in the league? The Warriors got rid of him, right? Like, and he finds his space on this team here. But the way that I sort of saw it is what I think has made Chris Boucher a good player, like why he is so integral to what the Raptors do, is because last season he kind of had this humbling moment where he realized he's not Pascal Siakam. He cannot do it all. And so his role has really been relegated to a couple of things. Because if you remember that Tampa season, Chris Boucher was shooting the ball really, really well. Yeah. And so last season, he assumed that he could continue to shoot the ball really, really well. But Chris, that is not your game. I don't want you taking threes off the dribble. I don't want you taking threes above the break. That is not where you're best suited. And so about halfway through last season, he kind of had that realization and became just this hustle guy and understood not to do too much, but to play within his role. And so I was thinking, who are some players who recognize their role and don't play with outside of that? So game is not comparable in any way. And this guy is a star, but Klay Thompson is someone who does not dribble the basketball because he's not asked to, right? It's like, we don't want you to do anything outside of the purview of what your role is. You're a specialist in this category, and we want you to be the best player who can shoot the ball, right? Like, to me, Klay Thompson has the prettiest jump shot in the NBA, and I don't think it's close. Terrence Ross, you're maybe number 2 for me. But
like, some P-Ross love. I love it.
I think his shot is really pretty. Misses too.
It is.
But I think that, like, so to me, I just saw it as like someone like Klay Thompson, who I think Klay in another role outside of the Warriors can be. I mean, he's an all-star. He's a future Hall of Fame player. He's an incredibly talented guy. And outside of the Warriors, we could see an expanded role for him and we can see him do other things. But he's such a specialist in what he does that he doesn't need to take a dribble. We don't need to see him initiate an offense. We don't need to see him play make at all. We just need him to knock down shots when he's there and play defense. And so, like, to me, that's kind of similar to what the Raptors have asked Chris Boucher to do. It's like, we don't need you to bring up the ball. We don't need you to play make. We don't need you to shoot. We need you to be our hustle guy and be the best rebounder this team has. Be the best energy guy this team has. Go out there and block 3-point shots and shots at the rim. And so I think just like narrowing the scope of what he can do on a basketball court and being the best at that version is something that Klay did in a complete extreme other way.
Right.
But that's sort of the parallel that I saw.
Yeah, I think it's a great parallel. And, you know, I feel like we always want people to be able to do everything, you know. This isn't about a Scottie, but I'm thinking about someone like, you know, Scottie Barnes, who has so many different types of skills.
Or and Precious. Precious needs to learn.
Precious.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my God. Precious is a perfect example. And like,
Yeah.
you know, I think Precious spoke about Thaddeus Young, right? Who's also someone who's a kind of like a master in, you know, is a star in his role.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely a thing I feel like that the average fan kind of takes for granted, like just how hard that is and how much dedication it takes to, and you know, you have to check your ego.
You can do more. Exactly. That's the thing. When you know you can do more, but you're just being asked to do something so little, you're like, but I can bring the ball up. We've seen Chris Boucher do it. We know he can do it. We've seen Chris Boucher knock threes. We know he can do it. But like, you're not Pascal, but we're not going to run our offense through you. We don't want that from you. And so I think it's like an ego check. I think it's a little bit of like this humbling moment to recognize that you have a specific role and it might be smaller than what you want, but it's so necessary to what the team does.
Yeah, and also, you know, the other side of all that hard work is like you will get a lot of praise. You will help your team win, and you know, I think if you can get to that other side and like believe in the system of whatever your coach is saying, which again, it's easier said than done. Some coaches like have the wrong idea of somebody. You know, it can also go the other way, right? Like look at a Jordan Clarkson this year. You know, was kind of this like super sub scoring guy, and then like, you know, is starting and really distributing and scoring more. And Utah's been, I feel like they've faded a little bit. You know, they're 12-10, but they're still, you know, they're not a joke at all, right? So, yeah, let's stick with you, Imman, and move on to the next question here. And I mean, yeah, it's kind of like a rotation question. I just feel like, you know, the vibes are back. You know, obviously, I think Banton saw the court, but apparently Champagne's healthy. Scottie was back. I was at the game yesterday. Scottie definitely, he's got something on his knee. And he doesn't seem like he has a lot of bounce, but he's back. Yeah, he came off the bench for his first time in his career, which sort of made me think about this question. Gary also came off the bench. So, you know, Juancho and Thad started over those guys. Again, could be health, could be, you know, a lot of different reasons, but yeah, we're 20 games into this season, and what's your, you know, excluding guys like Otto and Precious, who will be out for a little while still, what's your kind of ideal rotation, you know, given the, you know, the obvious that of course there will still be experimentation, you know?
Right. I mean, I love Thad. I think that he works so beautifully with the starters, but I still want a regular starting lineup. Like personally, I still want Scottie and Gary to come off the bench. I think one thing is the Raptors don't really play like a hockey lineup where the hockey subs. I'm assuming that's what happens in hockey because I hear it on the broadcast. They play a lot of hybrid lineups, right? And so I think staggering Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam is going to be important to what this team does, despite the fact that they have the best chemistry on the team together, having gone through the G League and the bench and everything like that together. But to me, I think still having your typical starting five. I know that a lot of people have been wanting maybe Gary to come off the bench and have been sort of calling for that. I think I can see the Raptors doing it, but I don't like it because, I mean, you talked about it with Jordan Clarkson as someone who was a sixth man before. Jordan Poole, Tyler Hero. These are guys who maybe a lot of people compare to Gary Trent Jr., but the one thing that they do different than him is play make and create for other people. And that's something that Gary Trent Jr. doesn't do. And I think the reason why I kind of like the idea of Scottie and Gary together off the bench for a game, although don't love that moving forward, is because Scottie gets to be that, right? Like you have sort of the combination of the two there where Scottie is your playmaker and he can do that. And then Gary also can create for himself. And so like they kind of seem like, you know, combined perfect six man, but like also perfect starter combined. But I just personally think that like Scottie and Gary should come off the starting lineup. I don't think that Gary's a great bench player. I think he does best what he does in the starting lineup, just because the Raptors need sort of creation. When a play breaks down and Pascal is doubled, you need someone who can create their own shot. You need someone who can sort of save a play in the final moments. And I don't know that there are very many people who do that better than a Gary Trent Jr. in the starting lineup. So I think I like what he does there, and I don't know that he can be your sixth man if he lacks the playmaking of all of those great six men, right? Like the Lou Williams and the Jordan Clarkson type of player. They need to play make, and Gary Trent Jr. does not have that in his game currently. So I kind of like that as a starter. And in terms of like what the subs are, I think that OG and Scottie Barnes have such great chemistry. And we know that Scottie wants a bigger role. We know that he wants to play a little bit more. And I think that Scottie is sort of your play starter with the bench, and OG is your play finisher. I think really works well. So in terms of like the hybrid lineups that I would like to see, I want Scottie and OG to be paired up, and I want Fred and Pascal to be paired up a bunch, while understanding that we probably need to stagger them. But I think that kind of is the mold for what this Raptors rotation looks like when you have your starters, but you're sort of pairing up OG and Scottie specifically because their chemistry has been so great, and you're pairing up Fred and Pascal because they have the best chemistry in the league.
Wow. I mean, I 1,000, a million times percent agree with every single thing you said.
I said a lot of points.
No, I know.
Great point.
That's like everything I was thinking when I wrote this question. Like this is probably a horrible analogy, but it's like, I don't play a lot of pinball, but I feel like it's like that. When you started talking, it was like the ball hit every single point that was in my head. And then everything.
What's that one called where you're just playing with yourself? I'm like, I'm not ripping
Paddleball
with anybody else. That was paddleball. That's what that was.
No, but like, it's like everything just lit up. And, you know, I've been saying that. I think the conversation early or in the summer rather was kind of like this. And we've talked about this a little bit the first time we were on the pod, but, you know, this idea of Precious versus Gary, which, you know, we won't have to think about for a little while, unfortunately. But I really think that, you know, I couldn't agree with more. You know, I think that Gary really thrives next to Pascal, next to Fred, can bail us out of a shot clock scenario, and is kind of hung out to dry on the bench. But I was thinking about this question because watching him and Scottie come together, I was like, oh, he has some of that there. And yeah, I think you totally hit everything. And, you know, the one thing I'll add that I was sort of thinking about, I was a bit curious, like at the game, was I feel like Juancho is really starting to fit in with this roster in a couple different ways. Like he's a bit, I don't know if you could describe him as like a good defender, but I think he does stuff. Like he reads the game well. And yeah, he's not like a full-on Thad style vet, but he's also not a rookie. Like he's been around. Like he had a nice block. You know, he made some nice rotations, and I think he can shoot the ball. I feel like he hasn't shot it that well this season. I don't know what his percentages are, but you know, like the stroke is there, and I think the confidence is there, and I feel like he's someone I want as part of the rotation. And you know, sorry, Pat, I hope I'm not taking everything here, but the last thing I think, you know, people want point Scottie and they want Scottie to create. And I feel like the second unit is the place to do that, which then makes me think maybe the people who really, I don't want to say don't deserve minutes, but like can't get minutes in a really healthy lineup are Malachi and Banton, because I feel like if Juancho's there and he can shoot, and Thad is clearly, you know, becoming an integral part of, you know, a couple different lineups, obviously Boucher. Yeah, I wonder if there are minutes for those guys. Pat, I hope, yeah, I didn't take everything, but like, what's your thoughts on what Imman said, and what's your thoughts in general about, you know, the rotation without Otto and Precious?
So I will say, as a proud Kipling station user, let's just play Banton 48 minutes a game.
Sure,
we don't need anyone else. We just need Rexdale's finest. Let's go.
Yeah.
No, I remember watching the game and just kind of being like, the idea of keeping it fluid and keeping it not the same all the time is really interesting to me. Because it's like playing like, hey, we're all so self-confident in what we're doing. We don't need these labels. Oh, I don't need to be a starter. I'm cool. But you know, that's like a beautiful situation if it happens, but if it's not, whatever. Yeah, like I kept thinking like, man, it'd be cool if we added one more piece to this. Like, I know we got a lot of good pieces, but if we added, you know, of course we need like the backup point guard or the backup guy to kind of throw everything around would be great. But no, I think I'm more just excited about the level of experimentation, and it hasn't backfired yet, which is nice.
Yeah, and so like when you think experimentation, are you thinking that, yeah, we're not doing the hockey lineup, or that, you know, for instance, a guy like Juancho is getting some
Yeah.
opportunity now
Yeah,
versus, you know, Koloko early in the season was starting, and like,
Yeah,
is that
exactly.
sort of where you're coming from?
Yeah, from 100%. It's we're not afraid to take swings because I think we have the past to kind of lean on, being like, oh no, our swings usually end up with hits, so let's keep taking these swings. You know, I like it's weird because we are a good team, but we are still developing a young core.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
to have these young, to have these young folks have opportunities to see different angles of the floor, that just helps us for the long run. Maybe not so much in the playoffs, because we do want to lock down like who was our top whatever guys, but this is a great way to get some reps for some good young folks. Also, about Juancho, did you both think he was going to play like Bo Cruz? Like after watching Hustle and be like, all right, this movie's he's gonna play like the movie. Like, oh, he's just a good role player. Cool. All right, cool.
I have not watched Hustle, and I'm
Neither have I.
Really, it's not that good.
I sort of figured that, but also I still want to watch it because, like, you know, the basketball nerd in me wants to be.
I can't believe you got away from watching that. Like, because like all my friends told me as a basketball guy, it's like, yo, you gotta watch this. You gotta watch this. You gotta watch this. You got this. I'm like, all right, cool. I watched it.
I couldn't finish Uncut Gems because I was too anxious halfway through, and I know that I know what the ending was, but I was like, I'm too anxious for this, and I stopped it halfway through. So didn't start Hustle.
You're just a big Andre Iguodala fan, and you couldn't take watching him lose in the playoffs again.
I think that I'm just like defiant in like a stupid way that I don't even understand. So when a lot of people are like, you got to watch this, there's a part of me that's like, sure, but I never will. And it's indefensible. But I'll also say this just to throw him under the bus because I enjoy doing that. Folks, get in the comments. Matty D has still not finished Space Jam. And I don't know why. But he's tried, and I guess he can't get back to it. So feel free to, if you have any curiosities about why you won't watch that movie.
He's afraid of Newman.
yeah, he's afraid of Newman from Seinfeld. Just if you're curious like I am, let him know. I think I went in too many directions. I don't even know what I was talking about, but I feel like that about does it. Any more kind of like rotation? Sorry, let me say one more thing. I want to put my hand up as someone who kind of freaks out about Nick Nurse early in the year. And then I feel like I never see Nurse's end game, which makes sense because he knows a lot more about basketball than I ever will. But I think that he definitely uses the first quarter of the season, if not a bit more, to experiment like crazy. And it's easy to get go game to game or week to week and kind of forget about that. And it seems like, and I might be reading into this too much, but it seems like that sample of the season, it seems like going forward, we're going to experiment a little bit less. And he's had a lot of looks at a lot of guys in different kind of roles. I'm not sure. What do you think about that, Imman?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, Nick Nurse is a mad scientist. I also I think we live and die by the game so much more when our jobs are not tied to what this team looks like in the spring. We can live and die with this by every single win. I learned to trust the process with Nick Nurse. So I'm trusting the process here.
Yeah, I really, I trust the Masai process, the Bobby process so much. And I feel like with Nurse, I get really kind of like jittery, and that's on me. What about you, Pat? Do you have any of those feelings with Nurse, or are you fully like, hey, I trust Nurse implicitly?
I mean, I trust it, and you kind of want someone to experiment too. I think we're in a position where we're not guaranteed home court, and we don't really care that much, right? So at the beginning of the season, it's not the worst to get some losses. We're trying to not be in the play-up. That's kind of what we're going for, and we're trying to get that. Is it the 7th seed? No, we're trying to get the 6th seed, right?
6th seed, yeah.
So that's a place full of good times to experiment. have fun, see what works, see what doesn't, so that you get into a comfortable position. Like, you know, we're not challenging to get the 1 seed. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. That'd be incredible.
No, I think you're right. You know, the West is a bit more chaotic, but it really does seem like, you know, a lot of people predicted. I think a lot of people said Philly as well. I sort of had Boston and Milwaukee as in a tier by themselves, and I feel like we're already kind of seeing that in the East. But buddies, that is it for the pod. We made it to the end. Thank you both so much. Matt, I'll bring you in. And thanks for everyone who's been listening to the pod, supporting us, subscribing, commenting, all that stuff with Raptors Republic. First, let me go to you, Pat. What do you got going on? What do you feel like plugging? What do you want to let people know?
Hey, everybody. So I'm on a very good improv show this Saturday at the Assembly Theater. It's a co-produced effort from the Mahjong Mafia and Bad Dog Improv Theater called All of Us Are Naughty. It's a show where we get people from the audience to write down something that they did that it was naughty, or get them on the naughty list, and then we read them anonymously, and then we do scenes based off that. It's an all-star cast coming down to the Assembly Theater this Saturday at 8 p.m. for All of Us Are Naughty. 9 p.m. Oops. Bye.
Oh shit. Imagine if they heard 8 p.m. and they're like, I'm out.
9, you say?
Imman, what's up? What do you want to plug? What's going on with you right now? Oh, you're muted.
Of course I am. I was going to say, if I didn't pick the Kings for the last one, I was going to pick Jabari Smith's head, just because...
Jabari Smith's head.
Since DeJounte Murray decided to tap at DMs, the names are too confusing.
Yeah.
The Hawks have been outscored 264 to 237. I was doing the math. Losing double digits in each of the single games since that happened and going 0-3. So shout out to Jabari Smith's head. But I think crediting the Cavs for the move that they made and not crediting the Hawks was a slander enough. So
yes.
I have a piece that will be dropping hopefully soon this week about Pascal Siakam and why he is incredibly special. He wants to get into the top 5, and I'm talking about, can he get there? Is he already there? And questions like that.
Amazing. And can everyone find that on Twitter?
Yahoo Sports Canada. Sorry.
Yeah.
Find that on Yahoo Sports Canada. It'll also be up on YouTube, and I'll tweet it out.
Cool. Well, thank you both so much for joining. This is a really, really good show. And Maddie, let me throw to you. What do you want to let people know about us, about Raptors Republic?
Right.
Hit them with the goods.
Yeah, you can listen to us on raptorsrepublic.com if you are already. That's great. If you watched a couple of the clips we put up on YouTube, go to the podcatchers, subscribe to the Rapcast to listen to the full episode. And as we've said the last few weeks, there is a paywall up for a lot of the editorial content now on Raptors Republic, $6 a month. So please subscribe. I think there might be a deal still on. I know there was a Black Friday deal that they had. It was $1 for 3 months or something like that. Might still be up. Don't quote me on it, but I saw on the site today the banner was still there. Either way, $6, $1. You know what? It's just all to support some great writing. And that's pretty much it.
Well, thank you, Maddie D. You're the absolute greatest. I appreciate you. And everyone for listening, and you both for joining. And I think we're done. We're good to go. Maddie, please just give me those words I love so very much. Okay.
Listen to full episodes of the Confederacy of Dunks only on the Rapcast.